Thank you for joining us this evening for a very special edition of Power of Purpose. Let me just begin, Sanjeev, with asking you your thoughts. You heard, of course, at the minister earlier, the future leadership, current leadership, the future of the country. What stood out for you from his speech?
Many things. First of all, he was really speaking extempo. No paper, no teleprompter, just speaking. Okay, I think that was really good. Second, he was bilingual, both Hindi and English, equally comfortable. Third, he made a lot of sense, right? And he talked about sustainability, he talked about food processing, he talked about the future of these industries and how growth is really important. At the same time, you've got to be doing it in a manner that you're not causing harm to the environment. I think these are the things that stood out for me.
Mm-hmm. That purpose, that direction, of course, in those declarations. Yeah. And given that we are talking about the next generation and empowering the next generation, Sanjeev, let me just ask you, in your interactions with young business leaders today, companies that you're investing in, do you notice anything different in their approach to building businesses today? Do you see a little bit more of a sort of a sustainability consciousness creeping in, this idea of the new bottom line as well, which is people, planet, purpose, and of course profits? Are you noticing any change in the current crop?
I will, yes I am. I think the next gen is actually a lot more conscious of the need to be sustainable than perhaps my generation. I'm 61 years old, and perhaps the generation before me, right? And I see that in my children. My daughter is, 31, and my son is, 27, and and they and their friends talk a different language on sustainability. So,
Do you understand that language?
Well, I do, but you see, they're down to the fact that, hey, I don't really want to own a car. I don't really want to, I'm happy going by an Uber. I'm happy traveling by metro. I don't need to use private transport, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. Right? That often happens. And I'm saying, listen, there's a car, there's a driver, you can, no. Well, that's down to a simple thing, right? Down to dictating what car we will use and buy at home. Right? Keep it simple, bahut mehenga nahi, not too ostentatious, right? Up to this is okay for you, daddy. Okay? Okay. And really, the agenda very often at home is driven by the children, right? What is to be consumed, what is not to be consumed. But if I look at the business world, and I take a company like Zomato, where we are the largest shareholders. Now, I'm about 20 years older than Dipinder, who was the founder of Zomato. We didn't have to tell him anything. We didn't think of it, actually. But down to little things like 35-40% of the delivery vehicles are EVs now, and that percentage is going up. Right? You have the option of telling the restaurant when you're ordering, do not send any plastic cutlery. So no cutlery needed, I'll use my own. Right? A lot of people do that. Down to recycling stuff. So Zomato is trying to be as sustainable as possible. And we didn't have to tell them this. And neither did anybody else. They decided on their own because they felt it's the right thing to do. They felt their employees would prefer that. And they felt their customers would prefer that. Right? So I think the next generation actually is pretty much committed to this. And it's not just profit.
But what is the role then of governments? We spoke earlier about starting young, inculcating that sense of responsibility in younger generations. Take that to the business world, Sanjeev, and tell me, what is the role of institutions, of government, our education institutions? What is the role there? And how will it eventually, of course, impact growth, profit, all of the things that we all care about?
I think the role of government is huge, but it is, of course, when you are running public sector companies or utilities owned by the government, then of course you have a direct sort of role and responsibility. But even when you're not, the kind of regulations you make, the kind of laws, the kind of tax policies, the kind of where you target your subsidies, all that the government plays a role. I mean, I don't think EVs would have been possible in India without the government taking an active role. I don't think, in a country where more than 70% of our, power source is thermal, if you want to shift it to greener, more sustainable, without government policies, you can do that, and that is happening. Okay, so the government has a huge role, and apart from these policies and regulations and taxation and subsidies, it's also about building awareness. The government has a huge role there. I think it's happening, and I think there's actually a generational shift here. Like I said, the next generation is much more responsible, I think, than my generation is or has been, and I think that's a good thing.
Of course, with this transition.
So just to give you a case in point, the movement to ban firecrackers in Delhi during Diwali, that movement was led by NGOs who said we'll do it through school children. Because if the child in the family is saying it won't happen, it doesn't happen. Right? So next gen is the answer.
Well said, well said. Sanjeev, of course, we are in a very high-tech age, acceleration in technology. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of career opportunities for the next generation in building this future and helping this transition to greener economies, to a better planet, safer communities.
No, I think career opportunities are many more, career options are many more than 20, 30 years ago, right? I remember graduating from school, it was, you will do engineering or you will do medicine. And if you have to do a BA or BCom, that's not really a professional degree, and then what will you do afterwards, and you can't get a job, and what's going to happen? And you are striving to get into some sort of professional course or qualification so that we can get a job, right? Middle class India was like that. Okay. Of course, there are people who are not middle class who are perhaps poorer. They had fewer options. They didn't have the education. But today we are seeing many more career options. Now, when you're starting out in your career and you're from a poor family, right? Chances are you won't worry a lot about, hey, I won't take this job, it's not sustainable. I'll take this job, I'm getting it, I'm getting a salary, right? And that will be the priority, okay? But, if I come back to the companies we talked about, see, one other aspect I want to talk about is, let's take our company, InfoEdge. Until about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, sustainability was not a discussion for us, right? I remember I went to an investor conference, talking to investors, and across the table, I was asked, what's your ESG score like? I didn't know what ESG was. I said, ESG? He says, yeah, I've got a report which says that, listen, you are B+, but on everything else, you're A+ or A. So he gave me a report. Somebody had done some rating. I had not seen it earlier. So I came back from that conference, and I, championed it internally. Listen, there's something called ESG. Right? And we have to improve in this area. So very often it's led by governments, by next-gen employees, but also by investors and shareholders. Okay? The thought was planted in our head, and we learned that actually we are not B+, we are probably A-. It's just that we haven't talked about it or disclosed the information. So that was the easy fix. And then from A- to A and A+, we had to make an effort. Right? But the point is that very often investors, foreign investors especially, and this is a foreign investor, they sometimes are thought leaders, and they ask these questions. And then for listed companies, it matters.
So just dig into that, Sanjeev, a little bit, and maybe share with us a couple of initiatives that you took at InfoEdge, to improve that score, or what are you looking at to get to that A+?
So I think we straight away moved to supplementing some of the energy sources with solar. replacing some of the transportation with EVs
Right.
instead of internal combustion engines. We encourage use of public transport. Right? So we are essentially running an office, right? We are running an office, and we're not manufacturing anything. So it's not as if we have a dirty manufacturing process, but then replacing all the taps in the office with stuff that consumes less water. Right? So wherever we could do a bunch of things, we did that. And that also counts. Right? It's not as much as what Bisleri does, but we don't also consume as much as Bisleri does.
Going back to what I touched upon earlier, Sanjeev, about technology.
The other thing is, and this bugs people, that the default setting of the air conditioning is 26. And I perspire a lot, so I used to get mad. But then the CFO came and said, listen, you got to do this. Okay.
What's the temperature now?
26. Default is 26.
Okay. So,
but you see, what has also happened post COVID is, with remote working, you consume less air conditioning in the office also, and you consume less fuel coming to office also.
Do you, Sanjeev? Do you own an EV? Are you looking at getting one? You mentioned cars earlier, and you mentioned the kids'
now
choice.
the kids are saying, listen, you use the car for 10 years before you replace it. Okay, so no, I've not got an EV, but it's active consideration. Next 3 years, we have to replace the car. The car is now 7 years old. So it's a hybrid right now. And hybrid also is encouraged by government. You see, what happened was the Delhi government said, odd and even, right? Which means either you buy a second car with a different sort of with an odd number plate, okay? And getting an odd number plate also, you got to, how do you get it? You can't be sure. But hybrid cars can run all days of the week. So there also government policy nudged a bit to the movement towards hybrid.
Right. All those nudges. Going back to my point about technology, Sanjeev, of course, you've been a huge proponent of that.
It's not clear to me that a fully electric car right now is very stable. Although I've got colleagues who bought it and they're quite happy. But I have 3 years, so I'll wait and watch, and then.
Okay. Right outside the hotel here, there is a EV charging station. So
they're everywhere. We've invested in EV companies. We invested in battery companies. So we invested in a company called Matter. Matter is an e-bike company. They just launched in Ahmedabad. We've invested in two or three different battery technology companies. We've invested in EV finance companies. So we've invested 120 startups, of which at least 8 or 10 are directly in the sustainability space.
But you're still considering for your own transport yet?
Yeah. Okay. But look, it probably will be.
Okay.
But I'm already on hybrid for the last 7 years.
That's good news. That's good. But again, I'm going to try
But that's also thanks to the government.
One more question again, Sanjeev. I want to get back to the point about technology, and this year has been a lot of talk about AI, a lot of hype, a lot of fear. Just quick thoughts, Sanjeev, on how technology will help us reach some of these targets that India has set, the government has set, and also just businesses and industries have set. Zoom out and tell me what's the view on the tech impact.
So I think one thing is pretty clear to us now, that AI will go everywhere. It's not about AI companies. It's about adding AI to your current business to improve customer experience, to improve productivity. So at InfoEdge, since 2000, we began to do stuff around 2009, which was smart and intelligent, and which today is called AI. We didn't know it was AI, we just did it, right? But around 2018, we began to invest a lot in data science, analytics, machine learning, predictive AI, and now Gen AI. Okay. We've got a team of 100 people now. I mean, it's hard to build a team because the talent is very difficult to come by. But now slowly, we manage 100 people now. In the last 2 years, we have launched 22 different features in Naukri alone using AI, which are making the site work better, which are improving user experience, both for recruiters and for job seekers. Okay. We have begun to do that in other businesses as well, Jeevan Sathi, 99 acres. There's more in the pipeline because this team of 100 is very innovative, very proactive, very capable, very committed. And we are seeing startups that are coming out which are going to definitely change the way business is done. And yes, the fact is that some of this may cause job losses, right? So we've seen startups where the sales process, the telephonic sales process is done by an AI voice bot, right? Inbound, outbound, whatever. This may eventually end up replacing human beings, at least some human beings, right? And that is something we have to understand and be willing to live with, and perhaps take efforts to mitigate those job losses somehow. Right? So, but there will be other aspects where AI will create jobs. Right? In the long run, AI should create more jobs than the job losses that are caused. But there'll be a process of transition and a time period of that.
Absolutely. We're practically at the end of our conversation, Sanjeev, but I have to ask you this.
You know, a news anchor or a moderator could be replaced by a...
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
Now, one way to look at that is that. The other way, listen, you know, it's your hologram, but maybe you're doing 10 panels at the same time, right? So it's you, or the people think it's you, but it's not actually you, but there are 10 different subjects being discussed at the same time. Yeah. So that's productivity.
Yeah, it's a brave new world indeed. But let me ask you this, and this is, well, in a sense related, because one of the, we have people, planet, profits.
Let me tell a little story. one story.
Go ahead.
So, by now, I have given a few hundred interviews, panel discussions, podcasts, talking to people. All these videos are up on YouTube. So a colleague of mine said, listen, I'm going to experiment with this platform. It's just come out. Okay, and he took 55 of those videos and connected them to this AI platform. Right? Now that AI platform, it ingested those. It made sense of it. Now you can ask it any questions. What does Sanjeev Bikhchandani think about this? And if that's at all covered, it gives an answer. When I read it, I say, hey, I did say this, right? Sometime. Okay? So there's a friend of mine, he's coming out with a coffee table book on Viksit Bharat, 2047, all that. And he's asked me to write a piece, 800 words, 1,000 words, on the role of startups going forward in the Indian economy. And, I was busy, I was lazy. I said, yeah, I'll do it. I promised, but didn't do it. He kept chasing me. Then day before yesterday, I got a brainwave. I said, listen, can you just ask that question to this AI platform that, what role will startups play in the Indian economy going forward? And what I've said about it in the past. It gave me a 1,000-word answer.
You were happy with?
I didn't have to edit it. Okay. I did not have to edit it. I read it. I said, okay. I sent it to him.
Did you disclose that to your friend?
No. But I just sent it yesterday. So,
you felt it was authentic enough.
Well, so it's what I said, right? And it's summarized it across sources.
Right.
And it's done a pretty good job. So I'm feeling a little redundant.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm redundant, I don't know.
Okay, one more question. I have to get this in, Sanjeev. And like I said, it's not exactly on sustainability, but because people, it's a huge factor in there. And we are going to have Rohit from Swiggy later today, this evening. And we saw Dipendra go out, riding, delivering, talking to his people. We've seen the folks at Swiggy do it too. What do you think about this, in touch, founders going out there, CEOs going out there? Would you have ever done that?
Yes, of course. I've been on sales calls myself. I've used the site. I've spoken to job seekers. I think it's important that the senior leadership of any company is in touch with the frontline employees, is in touch with consumers and users, especially in a situation where they are delivery partners, right? They work hard. They go out, whether it's in the heat, they go out in the cold, they go out in the rain to deliver, and they've got to deliver on time. Right? And sometimes customers can be rude, but you got to always be polite. Sometimes the restaurant packs the wrong things. You can't open the packet, and the customer gets angry and upset. So I think it's important for senior leadership in any company to be in touch with the front line and with the consumers. So it's a good thing, both for Swiggy and for Zomato.
Absolutely. Lead by example and lead from the front. Well, thank you so much,
It's
Sanjeev.
also for learning, because you take different decisions. So Zomato is doing a whole bunch of things for delivery partners. They understand. Now they've begun a significant percentage of delivery partners are now women.
Yes.
Women may have a problem using public toilets. So Zomato has begun to, have convenience centers, centers for the gig workers to use to rest, to use
Right.
public conveniences, and they're opening it out to not just Zomato riders but to everybody else. Who wants to can use it, and they'll maintain it. So this idea may or may not have come about if they were not getting feedback, and some of it through personal experience by actually going out and delivering.
Absolutely, absolutely. And back to the new bottom line, which is people, planet, purpose. Thank you so much, Sanjeev. As
Thank you so
always,
much.
lovely to hear from you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.